Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here to Martinsville Speedway for the Cookout 400, race number 24 of the debut season of the PCSRA Winston Cup Series. We have two more races left to go, Bristol next week, and then another short track making its debut, which will be Mansfield. That will finish up the regular season for the Winston Cup Stars as we're getting set for 25 laps of racing. It was an interesting Busch Series race yesterday. What we see for the Winston Cuppers here today. Annie Thomas on the pole. It has been a difficult season for her. She comes into this race in the 39th position in the points, and she is a total of 63 points back at 30th in the standings. It's going to be very impossible for her. Another poor result. I think Annie Thomas is going to be eliminated from making the playoffs. Alongside of her is Josephine Bouvier, who comes this race fifth in points, still looking for her first win on the season. Monica Townsend, row number two, she dropped two spots down to 15th in the points. And alongside of her is Brenda Eveling, who, even if she were to go to victory lane, I do not think it's going to be enough for Brenda Eveling to make the top 30 in points. She is 38th in the standings. J TwoTwo is still the points leader by 26 points over Cody Smart, 40 points over Ben Tennyson. A Crenshaw, who's won the last 2 weeks, jumped up to fourth in the standings, 71 points out of the lead. Josephine Bouvier dropped down the spot to fifth. Betty Johnson is sixth. Elena Aurora seventh. Jessica Miller eighth. Tatum Wright ninth. And Ashley Horton complete your top 10. Let's make sure the rest of the field is rolling off as you look at the rest of the starting lineup for today's Cookout 400. Had some interesting racing where we had like almost 5 wide in the Busch race yesterday. We're going to have to see what happens here today with 25 laps for the Winston Cup Superstars. Annie Thomas needs a good points day, or we could say hasta la vista to her playoff hopes in that regard. And one thing I didn't notice, Courtney Lynn jumped up to 30th in the standings, so she is inside the top 30 in points, which means her win would count for a playoff berth. As the green flag is out, we're racing at Martinsville, and Bouvier did the exact same thing as Kyle Langland did yesterday in the Busch race and was not penalized for that. And like I said, the flag came out early, and I don't think Annie Thomas was expecting that. Just like Elizabeth Gardner wasn't expecting that in the Busch race yesterday, as Bouvier led the first lap. In trouble for Maddie Crenshaw. It looks like she's got a problem or some kind. Did she not? Oh, she had a tire going down. Hopefully they can get her back out. I do not want to have to restart. Come on, Maddie, get back out there, sweetheart. I do not want to have to restart this race. And we're also being told the 0-1 is a lap down. That's Ben Tennyson. There he is. Not sure what the issue is. And there goes Maddie Crenshaw. There you go. There you go, sweetheart. Not what Maddie Crenshaw needed. And there she comes in 40th. She's now 3 laps down. So apparently she had a flat tire. And not sure what took her so long just to change right side tires and send her back out. But now I can breathe again. Josephine Bouvier is the driver on the bubble as far as the playoffs is concerned. And boy, if we have more than 16 winners, this will be a holocaust to figure out with 2 races to go. The only thing that's going to matter is if drivers like Courtney Lynn and Kevin Joseph, Hannah Smith fall out of the top 30 in the points. That's the only thing that could save some drivers. As there you see the 2 right there. As you look at the back of the field, Annie Crenshaw's won the last 2 races back here at the rear of the field. They're almost about to get lapped if they're not careful. And J TwoTwo, the points leader, is back here at the rear of the field. I don't think it would matter to Jake. There's Betty Barrett. Marty Stevens is outside the top 30 in the points. He is 35th in the points. He is 30 points back of 30th in the standings. Banco Siemens right here. There's Ashley Reynolds in the 88. Reynolds 20th in the points. Seaman 22nd. $37 points ahead of 30th in the standings for Seaman. Annie Thomas in second. Monica Townsend third. There's Luigi Cadet. Luke Knight. Brenda Ealing sixth. Cody Smart second in points in seventh. Courtney Lynn, Brooklyn Carter, and Margaret Jacobs under attack by Zachary Taylor for the 10th position. Annie Thomas dropping back. This is not good for Annie Thomas. Well, it's a good run for her, but this is not doing her any hopes of trying to make the playoffs, and she overdrove that corner and going to lose more spots. Annie Thomas cannot afford to lose any more positions, and she's stuck on the outside. Nobody's trying to give her any help or cut her a break. Maybe her fellow World Knots Racing friend Luke Knight's going to cut her a break, and looks like he did. Remember, those two are teammates at World Knots Racing, the Luke Knight and Annie Thomas. So Luke Knight realized, I'm going to go ahead and cut my teammate a break, which, thank you for cutting her a break, Luke. She went from pole to first, so that needs to probably get looked at. Zachary Taylor was 28 points back of 30th in the standings. Ben Erickson is a total of 9 points back of 30th in the standings. So I tell you what, another winner. We would have 16 winners inside the top 30 in points, and that means all 16 spots are filled. So for anyone that would need a good run, points are probably going to be out of the question here. Let's see where the 5 is running. Courtney Lynn, she's running in 8th. Like I said, came in this race that critical 30th position in the points as Annie Thomas is continuing to lose spots. And looks like her car is not getting any better. Maybe some questions whether or not Josephine Bouvier should have gotten a penalty for that, because you're not supposed to beat the leader to the start-finish line, and apparently they're not even going to give a penalty to the sicko Ford, which is a bit of a shame because it's dropped Annie Thomas to 5th, and now she's in the clutches of this battle for 7th right here between Brenda Ealing and Cody Smart. I bet Annie Thomas is going to be furious about that. Courtney Lynn running in 8th. As I said, came this race that critical 30th position in the points. And she's trying to get underneath Cody Smart here. It's like the 45 just got around Annie Thomas, so she's already been free falling. As the 99 pulled away. Like I said, if Bouvier wins, she's in the playoffs. Zachary Taylor running in 10th. I don't think he's going to get in the playoffs. I think the only way Taylor's going to get another playoffs, get a playoff spot is if he gets another win. Because winning one time is not going to be enough to keep himself in the top 30 in the points. I think he's going to be in a must-win situation. Those that have points, they're not even going to fall back on points. They're going to have to, quote, need a couple of things. One, in a must-win situation with 2 races to go, and 2, drivers who have a win that fall outside the top 30 in points. So because we're going to have another new winner this season. And guess what? You're not going to make the playoffs on points anymore unless the driver falls outside the top 30 in points. That's the only catch in this deal. So we have 3 laps of racing to go. And J TwoTwo is probably going to lose the points lead to Cody Smart. So Cody Smart versus J TwoTwo for the regular season championship. So we're down to 2 laps of racing to go. Annie Thomas is going to need to stay in 5th to limit the damage there. I think all those drivers that, as we're coming to the white flag, 1 more lap to go, and looks like we're going to have our 16th winner as long as nobody falls outside the top 30 in the points. But Josephine Bouvier is probably going to get the most controversial win ever as she wins the Cookout 400 here at Martinsville. And has she confirmed herself a spot into the playoffs? Boy, we're going to have a situation where we're going to have, just like in the truck series, we're going to have drivers that won the race this season not even make the playoffs. And that's scary, to tell you the truth. And they went caution free, so that's another A+ for these drivers here today. Townsville gets 2nd, Knight 3rd, Cadet 4th, Annie Thomas in 5th. The driver she was trying to catch, she didn't beat Courtney Lynn, but she did beat a number of drivers ahead of her in the standings who didn't have a good result today. So we're going to see where this is going to put her in this position, although she would like to find out why Bouvier did not get black flag. But a good run nevertheless. Courtney Lynn 6th. Courtney Lynn's done her playoff hopes a whole lot of good. She will definitely get away from 30th in the standings. Zachary Taylor was trying to catch Courtney Lynn, finished in 7th. He was 28 points back. Oh boy, we're going to have a fight to see who's going to make the playoffs and who's not. Oh boy. Talk about, we're going to have an ugly situation as far as this is concerned. Brenda Eveling 8th, Cody Smart 9th. Cody will take the points lead for the first time in a while. And Margaret Jacobs will complete the top 10. Hannah Smith came home in 12th. This will keep her in the top 30 in the points. Kevin Joseph in 14th. Definitely will stay in the top 30 in the points. Vanko Seaman came home 17th. Marty Stevens 18th. I think Marty Stevens could be facing a must-win situation. Jerry Harvick in 20th. But he has those 2 wins, so he can ill afford that. Here's a couple of question marks I'm kind of worried about as you look on down to the rest of the finishing results. J TwoTwo, I don't think he has to worry about it because he's already so far high enough in points. I don't think it's going to matter. But now the big question is who's going to stay in the top 30? Ben Erickson, 23rd. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I really don't know. Lane Aurora, 25th. P Albanus, 29th. Todd Montgomery, 32nd. Oh boy. Todd did not need a bad result. This is going to put him near dangerous territory for him. Jacob TwoTwo, the points leader, 33rd. Ben Tennyson came as race 3rd in the points. Did not have a good result today. A Crenshaw, 36th after winning the last 2 races. And Samantha Grainger, 12th in the points. This is not the run she was hoping for. So we're going to have a lot of drivers running well in points. We're going to have some drivers who have won a race this season might not make the playoffs. Yikes. So the points have really shaken up a bit. And with Bouvier's addition, who is going to be eliminated? To be honest with you, we're going to have to wait and see in the next 2 weeks. But thank you all for joining me for today's race at Martinsville. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the PCSRA crew today. We've shown your full finish results. Your point standings are down in the description heading into next week at Bristol, where the last 2 races could get really ugly in a hurry. I can tell you that for sure. We'll have the Truck Series back with Busch and Winston Cup from Bristol, as it's the final visit to Bristol this season. And then All three series will be at three different tracks. We'll have super speedway racing for trucks and Busch, and Winston Cup will have short track racing at Mansfield to finish up the regular season. Until then, I've been D TwoTwo signing off. You've been watching it another broadcast of PCSRA TV, where champions are made since 2010, the best in racing around the world since 2017 for 15 years. Goodbye from Martinsville.